It's an enormous chus that we have, a tremendous privilege we have this morning to welcome the Rav Shor Shlita, to our community. He's been giving shiurim. This is now the second year, Mitzvah Shem. We'll learn together in Yerushalayim soon, but if not, he can continue to come in Mitzvah Shem to inspire us. The Rav Shor's Torah every week, I quote, we share in so many different contexts. It opens our eyes and it warms our heart and it touches the depths of our soul. And there are people that you feel that you live on the same planet, you occupy the same space and the same globe, but you're living in two totally different worlds. Some are living in the physical world in the here and now, and some are living on another plane altogether, and yet they open our eyes and invite us to live there with them a little bit. And Rav Shor Shlita is such a person, such a giant, whose Svarim and Torah, as I say, open our eyes. The Rav is running to the airport, but has so grateful, has generously agreed to share a few minutes with us to speak on Inyane Emunah, on topics of Emunah. As soon as he has to run to the airport, we'll continue with our usual Emunah shir, with our letters. I was sharing with the Rav so many of the letters that come in, the inspiration that it provides, and back to the Sefer that we're learning together. But before we begin, what an enormous chus and privilege it is for us to welcome Moriv Rabbi Rav Shor Shlita.
Shus Harav Mardasra. Emunah, the fulfillment of Emunah, which is bitochen. Emunah brings to bitochen. But Emunah is not something that is achieved easily. The Pasuk tells us, Hamanti, I believe, ki hadaber, because I talk. In other words, the Pasuk teaches us that to achieve Emunah, you have to talk about Emunah. What does it mean talking about Emunah? Bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, into our lives. The more we talk about Emunah, meaning, I realize that only with the help of Hashem, only with the help of God can I do something, which we use the words Be'ezrat Hashem. And when we thank God for something that happens, that's Hemanti Ki Adaber, I believe because I talk, even though when I say thank you Hashem, or Baruch Hashem, or Be'ezrat Hashem, it's not 100% by me clear that it's only Hashem that did it. But by saying it and by talking it, it automatically influences the person to become a true Mamin. Emunah has stages. You can't achieve the highest stage and jump to the highest stage. When you went up to do the Avodah, the job of a priest, a Kohen in Beis Hamikdash, and he went up to the Mizbeach, to the altar, he didn't go up with steps. He went up with a plank. Why? Our sages teach us, steps, you could skip a step. Step, you could step over a step. In a plank, you have to take step by step by step. If not, you'll fall or slip back. Judaism, you can't jump steps. You have to take baby steps one at a time, and you achieve. Emunah is something that there are so many different stages in Emunah. So many different stages where a person can reach with Emunah. We can't think that we can reach the highest stage just in a day, or just by 10 minutes a day, or whatever. It takes day after day after day. And a person grows. He goes up the ladder, one rung at a time. Bitochen is the fulfillment of Emunah. Bitochen is harder. Bitochen means living Emunah. Not only being a person that believes, nor living that I believe. The Vilna Gaon says there are 13 stages of bitachon, meaning there's a lower stage of bitachon, a higher stage of bitachon, another stage of bitachon. Bitachon is something that you also have to grow in. The emunah brings you to bitachon. More emunah brings you to more bitachon. But it's something that comes from talking emunah. Yirmiyah Novi says in the prophet Yirmiyah, Musar to Klal Yisrael. He says, of the emunah is lost, nichresa mipiem, because it's cut from their mouths. In other words, the pasuk teaches you in the nevuah, you know why you lost the nevuah? You know why you lost your emunah? Because you don't talk emunah. You don't have the Rebbeinu Shalom enough in your life. Thank you, Hashem, is a very nice statement, but sometimes it's an empty statement. It's a language that we learned. We have to learn to talk more about Hashem in a clearer way, to realize that Hashem is the one who does everything, to realize all that we have is only because Hashem gave it to us, to realize we can't take anything alone in this world. We'll end with a story. There was a tzaddik called Rav Nochem Chernobyl. He lived in Ukraine. He's buried in this town, Chernobyl, which all of you know about, such a town. And he was an orphan, and he was brought up by a stepmother. The stepmother gave the children bread with butter. Him, she gave bread. She was a stepmother, and there wasn't any money around. So the children, she gave a little bit of butter, him not. He was a 3-year-old. He wanted to have butter. So under the steps, there was a pail with plaster. Plaster looks to the eye of a child of 2-3 years old as butter. And he buttered his bread with plaster. And of course, when he ate it, he realized that this is not what they were eating. He said he learned then at the age of 3, you don't take anything alone in this world. There's no such thing as taking alone. You only take what was given. And everything is given by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to realize that, and we have to repeat that, and we repeat that again until we reach one stage of Emunah, another stage of Emunah, and another stage of Emunah. There are a lot of stages in Emunah. 1 time Emunah is 102. 2 times Emunah is 204, is already a tzaddik. 3 times Emunah is every woman here should know. You have to have already 3 times Emunah. Isha is the numerical value of 3 times Emunah. It goes up and up and up. Everything, every time of Emunah, you gain another stage. You could go up all the way and see how Emunah you achieve more Emunah, you achieve more Emunah. The basic Emunah that we all have to have are 3 Emunahs. Hoya, Hoive, V'yeh. Past, present, future. Past, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Present, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who runs everything in the present world. Future, there'll come a time when the whole world will know and see for their eyes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is one. We should be zeicha to see it. We should have the ability to be there when the future is clear for us. But 3 times Emunah is the numerical value of an Isha. It's also the numerical value of the Vash, because the life of Emunah is as sweet as could be, is as pleasant as could be, without worries, without anything to bother you. And you could be zeicha, you could achieve that Emunah by talking Emunah, by repeating Emunah, and by living with HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Yes. Okay. First, I don't necessarily, unless you know Rav Shor, you don't necessarily know what a privilege that is. He's one of the giants of our generation, one of the most brilliant minds and character and hearts and souls. His father, Rav Gedalia Shor, the Or Gedalia, was Rosh Hashiva and Torah V'das. He today is the Nezer Gedalia. He has a shul and Lekach V'Halibov, his many tens of Svarim that he puts out on every single topic. And his wisdom, advice, and blessings are sought from around the world. And he's a very, very special person. It's the second time he's come. You can't hear me, I hope. If you'd see his eyes, his deep blue eyes, you feel like they can going through the back of your head and could make you light up on fire. So, but this is the second year that he's come. The many shiurim, I think he got here Sunday night. It's now Wednesday morning he's leaving. I think he gave maybe 30 shiurim around South Florida in the time that he was here. But the most precious thing is to see not the shiurim that he's giving in front of large audiences and sophisticated, mature adults, but is to see the teenagers who, when he sits in our backyard, line up one by one. And there are boys who are struggling, boys who weren't keeping Shabbos, weren't putting on tefillin. And they sit with Rav Shor, who looks into their soul and believes in them. And I found out that since last year, some of these teenage boys that he met with have been speaking to him on the phone daily, check in. He checks in with them, they check in with him. He keeps talking about how much he believes in them, and he brings out a lot in them. It's a very, very special. And as I said, and I only said it partially, mostly because I'm incredibly afraid of him, but I said in front of him that there are people that, make no mistake, we feel like we all live on earth and we all have to eat and we all sleep and we all are human beings and we're all in the same globe. But there are other people, we're in the physical world, they're in the metaphysical world. We see what's in front of us. They see an energy and a metaphysics and a world and a truth. The gematria he alluded to, the numerical value that he could have gone all, that's his specialty. If you look every week, what he puts out, the Divrei Torah, so I've sat with him and I asked him, you sit with a calculator, I have to, okay, Aleph is 1 plus the thing, Emunah, Mem is 40. Does that work out? He sees not, he'll talk to you, say your name, and say, oh, that's this pasuk. He sees the numbers, they come together, they work out the world, the matrix and the illusion that we're living in. We see the illusion and he sees the matrix. He sees the numbers. He sees they're all, anyway, it's a big schus, and his few words, there's a lot more that he could elaborate on. And Nia Cotton, I feel humbled and small to continue, but I continue with you and back on what we do and the letters that we got. And so I'm glad that we had this special opportunity. Our Emunah series is always sponsored by Dr. Zavi and Bella Morgan, in memory of Rabbi Dr. Brian Galbert, in memory of Bella's mother, Dr. Ellen Shanzer, and Shmira for the Israeli soldiers and hostages. And we are incredibly grateful for the Morgans for their continued generosity. This morning is also sponsored by Joyce Mueller, in memory of her beloved parents, Robert and Frida Siegel, whose Yurtzorts are the 19th and 22nd of Adar, the Neshama should have an Aliyah, and also in honor of, and we all daven from the bottom of our hearts for Refuah Shlema of a young baby, Ardena Liba Basara Penina, should have a complete, speedy, full Refuah Shlema, bounce back to give a tremendous nachas to her parents and grandparents, and this baby, Emir Hashem, should be well, and we should hear Besoros Tovos. Also anonymously in gratitude to BRS, all the Torah, and by Ellen, official in honor of the 17th Yurtzeit Pesach Zev Halevi, Paul Rosenberg, the Neshama should have an Aliyah, in memory of Israel Margulies, whose Yurtzeit was the 11th of Adar, our beloved Israel Margulies, our beloved community member and friend, by his children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. His Neshama should have an Aliyah by Marnina and Meir Stimmel, in memory of their daughter Michal on her 3rd Yurtzeit. They should find strength and comfort, and her Neshama should have an Aliyah as well. Baby steps. That's what Rav Shor said. Baby steps. The plank, the ramp, one by one. Don't jump, don't skip. Don't feel pressure to live more than you are or beyond where you're holding. Baby steps, baby steps. So that's what we're working on. So our big theme, our big motto, I did get the stickers that came in for the back of the phone. We will sell them or distribute them. Embrace your place. You're exactly where you're meant to be. So when you sit, turn your phone over, you see that sticker. So wherever you are, whatever's happening, however frustrated you are. So I want to share with you, and I got an email from a listener, Chaim Hirsch, who shared with me this insight. Beautiful, beautiful insight. The Melech Biederman, Rav Melech says the following this week. This week is Purim, in case you didn't notice. It wasn't on your calendar. But tomorrow night, I believe it is. Yeah, not nearly ready. But tomorrow night is Purim. So Rav Melech says the following. The Gemara Megillah on Daf Yutes says that Pruz ben Yomo Kore Pruz. A person who lives in Yerushalayim, but on Purim is in a city that celebrates Purim on the 14th of Adar, must keep Purim on the 14th. It's an interesting halacha. We know that a walled city, Yermukaf Choma, a city that's walled, has a different day of Purim than an unwalled city. So we will all observe Purim on the 14th of Adar, and Yerushalayim, a walled city like Shushan was, a walled city observed Purim not the 14th, when? The 15th of Adar, the next day, what we call Shushan Purim. And why is that? We don't have, yes, in Chutz La'aretz we keep 2 days of Yom Tov, in Eretz Yisrael they keep 1 day, but the idea that the whole holiday is on a different day, depending on your zip code, your address, where you live, we don't have that. Why is that specific or unique to Purim is a topic for another time. How does it work this year? This year is what's called a Purim Meshulash. And if you live in Yerushalayim, there are aspects of Purim on Friday, Shabbos, and the real Purim, or the Suda, the Mishteh, the L'chaims are on Sunday. We're going to have Purim here Friday. I happen to be flying to Eretz Yisrael on Motzei Shabbos. I have a wedding next week. I'll be back next Wednesday morning, but not in time, I think, for the Shir. So we'll have to, I'm giving the Emunah Shir actually in Yerushalayim on Monday. So we'll put it out from there for Monday, but I leave Tuesday night. So I land Sunday at 4 o'clock, 4:30. I'm going to try to get to Yerushalayim and catch the end of Purim. So it's Gevaldik. Purim in Boca Friday, Purim Yerushalayim Sunday. It's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward. Unfortunately, the time I get to Yerushalayim, it might be the worst part of Purim, which is the cleanup from Purim. So we'll see what's happening before I get there. So the Gemara says, a person who lives in Yerushalayim, but you're in Beit Shemesh, you're in Modi'in, you're in Ranana, you're in Netanya, you're in Tzfaz, you're not in Yerushalayim. When do you observe Purim? So the Gemara says, a person who lives in Yerushalayim but is on Purim located in a city that celebrates it on the 14th Friday must keep Purim on the 14th. His status is determined by his present location, not by his permanent residence. He gets his mail in Yerushalayim, he fills out the form, his address is Yerushalayim, but he happens to be visiting the Gladstones in Ranana on the 14th. So when does he observe Ranana? Is that where you're going back to? Netanya, Ranana? Netanya. He's in Netanya with the Gladstones, so he's going on the 14th. So you don't follow the permanent residence, you follow you where are temporarily. Why? It's in contrast with most Yomim Tovim. For example, when someone, and this is a little controversial, everybody relax, but I follow my Rebbe, Rav Shechter, who followed his Rebbe, the Rav, that when a person from America visits Israel for Pesach, how many days Yom Tov do you keep? 2. So I don't understand, my permanent residence is Boca, so if I'm in Israel for Pesach, I keep 2 days because my residence is Boca. But when someone from Yerushalayim is in Netanya, they keep Purim on the 14th, not the 15th. That's a different conclusion. Why? Why is Purim different? So the answer says, Rav Melech Biderman, you ready? This is why Chaim Hirsch sent this to me in an email. The answer is that Purim teaches us Emunah in Hashgacha Pratis. The whole story of Purim is Hashem's name does not appear in the Megillah. Explicitly, it does every time you see the word Hamelach. Some Megillahs, every column begins the word Hamelach. The Megillah is written so that every column begins with the word Hamelach. And whenever it says the word Hamelach, the king, it doesn't mean the physical king, Achashverosh. It is a reference at the Gra of Vilna Gaon, Hamelach, the King of Kings, the Almighty, who was pulling the strings, who was behind the scenes. So when the Megillah of the last year and a half since October 7th will be written, the newest book of Tanakh will be, so to say, added, it will tell you a story that won't have God's name. It'll talk about beepers. It'll talk about ballistic missiles from Iran. It'll talk about explosions on buses where no one was hurt. It'll be a Megillah. It'll tell a story. God's name won't appear. He didn't come gather us around the mountain and talk to us directly. He didn't reveal himself with a revelation that was unprecedented. So there are a whole Megillah. We'll talk about beepers, ballistic missiles, and buses. The 3 Bs. It'll be a whole Megillah. The BBB Megillah. Beepers, buses, ballistic missiles. God's name will be absent. But if we're living now, we look and we read between the lines and we see HaMelech. We see Hashem is everywhere. He's everywhere. Hashem is pulling the strings everywhere. Everywhere. And that's the holiday of Purim. Hashem's name doesn't appear in the Megillah, but he appears everywhere in the Megillah. Misha Nichnas Adar. I love to quote the Sfas Emes. Not when we enter the calendar day of Adar. Misha Nichnas Adar. When Adar enters us. Marbim Besimcha. Rav Shor just spoke about if you live with Emunah Bitachon, when a Jew feels nothing's random, nothing's chance, nothing's by accident, But embrace your place. You are exactly where you are meant to be. When you go through life with that confidence and that clarity and that calmness and that physical, spiritual, mental health that Emunah and Bitachon provide, then Marbin B'Simcha. I'm not worried. Are you keeping me waiting? The doctor canceled the appointment I've been waiting for. How come I'm not bent out of shape? Because I'm where I'm meant to be. This is the way it's meant to go. This is what's supposed to happen. Nothing frazzles me, arousals me, because I'm just where I'm meant to be. It's all from Hashem. So Misha Nichnas, Adar, Aleph, the Aleph, Alufo Shalom, Hashem, Misha Nichnas. When Hashem enters us, Marbin B'Simcha. When we live with Emunah, and we therefore don't get frustrated or angry or resentful, we don't get envious or arrogant or anxious, then we're Marbin B'Simcha. It's the natural consequence. It's the result. It's the skip in your step. You see somebody who gets back a good lab report. Somebody who just turns in the winning lottery ticket. Somebody whose child calls them to say, I have amazing news for you. I'm expecting. I'm getting engaged. That person they don't have to be told, it says here, I'm supposed to be happy now. It says here, somebody once met with me and said, I don't feel the emotions other people seem to feel. I don't feel emotion at all. And what do I do? And that's a condition. That's a form of being psychotic. It's a challenge. It's an illness. A person feels emotion, natural emotions. So if you hear good news, fantastic news, you don't have to say, oh, I read in a book that I'm supposed to be happy when that happens. You're happy. So when a person is Misha Nichnas Adar, Alufa Shalom Dar, when you give Hashem a Dira B'Tachtonim, when you give him a dwelling place here on earth, when you let him enter us, Marben B'Simcha, you can't help but feel enormous joy. That's the whole story of Purim. What's it called, the Megillah we're going to hear tomorrow night and Friday morning? It's not a trick question, people. What's it called? Megillas Esther, the scroll of Esther. Not a trick question. The word Megillah means a scroll, but the word Megillah, to be Megalah, Giloi is to reveal. Esther comes from the language of Hester, the hiddenness. We read the Megillah to reveal what's hidden. We don't hear it. We know the story. What do I have to hear the story for the billionth time? We know the story. We had the whole story. I got the story. We're hungry. Can't we eat? Why? We know the story. We're not listening to review a story that we already know. We're doing it as an exercise. It's an exercise. Here's the challenge. There should be a clap on the bima. We're about to hear the Megillah. Reveal the hidden. Find Hashem's name between the lines. Read the story of the beepers, buses, ballistic missiles, that Hashem's name is not mentioned, and find Hashem in the story. That's Megillas Esther. It should be easier for us than ever to experience Purim. Because the last year and a half, though there's been tragedy and challenge and loss, and it's hard to see Hashem in so many of those places, but there's also been miracles where we can read Hashem's name between the lines. So back to the question, why is it if you go to Israel for Pesach, but you live in Boca Raton, you have to keep 2 days, but if you live in Yerushalayim and you go to Ranana on Purim, you observe Ranana's Purim? Why is that? It's not the normal rule, says the Reb Melech. The answer is that Purim teaches us Emunah in Hashem's providence. Part of this Emunah is the awareness, you ready? That wherever a person is located at any given time, it was bashert that he be there. So his status on Purim is based on where he is on Purim. When it comes to Pesach, your status is where you're from. But Purim, the whole holiday is Hashem's providence. Purim, the whole essence and theme is I am where I'm meant to be. So if I'm in Netanya on Purim, forget that I get my mail in Yerushalayim. This is where I'm meant to be. Purim I'm meant to observe. The whole holiday of Purim is, if you have to summarize what's Purim, embrace your place. You are where you're meant to be. That's the holiday of Purim. Be Megala, the Esther. Reveal what is hidden. Mishenichnas Adar, let Adar enter you, and Marbin B'Simcha. You know how you'll go through life if you know, yeah, we'll see how it turns out. It's an adventure. I don't know what will be. I'm not envious of whatever people have because I have what I am meant to have. And I'm not worried about a future because Hashem is in charge, He's in control. The future will bring whatever the future is supposed to bring. I take my initiative, I make my effort, I do whatever is under my power and my control, and then I let go and I let God, and I'm filled with simcha, with joy, with serenity and tranquility, with peace of mind, with clarity, with confidence, with calmness, because Misha Nichnas Adar, when I let Hashem in. So we made the decal for the car, we made the sticker, we got the luggage tag, we got it all, we'll figure out how to get it out. And last week on Zion Adar, every Zion Adar, I meet members of our Chevra Kadisha in one of the cemeteries where we do the taharas of the people who are buried there. So I made up, as always, to meet a group there. And the person leading the group Person leading the group who was in a car, we had made up a certain time to meet, and she sent me a text. What's your ETA? I said, I'm here, we're running late. And then I didn't answer, even though I was sitting there a little bit frustrated, not at her, but at the circumstance that I got down there. She was late. She sends me a text of the picture of the decal on her windshield. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. Embrace your place. So this whole thing is coming back to haunt me in a big way. My daughter with the car, your car is where it's meant to be. Me with my daughter, your bagel is where it's meant to be. And now the head of our Chevra Kadisha telling the rabbi, just relax, Rabbi, we're running late, but embrace your place. Here's a picture of your decal. You are where you are meant to be. Okay, we're already deep into the shir, so I'll just read one or two more emails before we get back into our text. But I love this one because it's from a young girl. Dear Rabbi Goldberg and all the Living with Emunah listeners, this is the first email I have that was addressed to you, our listeners. Thank you so much for the Living with Emunah shiurim. They really inspire and strengthen me. I wrote this letter because I want to share with you and with the Living with Emunah listeners what I learned from listening to this podcast. Also, I want to share something that happened to me today. I've been davening for it to happen and to go successfully. I live in Yerushalayim. Baruch Hashem, I'm very thankful. I'm 12 and a half in 7th grade. Today, I went to my first interview for high school. The school sounds like a good fit for me and very high-level learning, which I want. My family and I have been davening that I will get an interview, that it will go well, that I'll get accepted. During the interview, the principal asked me, what is the big value you have? I answered her, Emunah in Hashem. Even if something doesn't go the way I want it to go, it's from Hashem. For example, it's a nace that I was invited for this interview. This 12-year-old tells the interviewer. The same way as everything else is a nace. Although I don't know for sure if I'll be accepted, and the bad is all from God. The bad is also for our good, even if we don't know what is good about. I can imagine this interviewer is interviewing this 12-and-a-half-year-old who gives her an Emunah shir about it's a miracle that I'm here, and however it will go, it's from Hashem, and Emunah is my value. I do hope the interview went well. I'll get accepted to the high school. I think it went pretty well. I hope to write again soon with the good news I got accepted, and the school will be the right fit for me. Thank you so much again. And under the email is a little PS from the mother. I want you to know that right after the interview, she said, I have something to do. I have to write to Rabbi Goldberg. She wrote this letter the same day, and I told her I would send it to you. I'm embarrassed it took me this long, though obviously today is exactly the right day to finally take care of it and get the letter to whom it was addressed. Thank you for the continuous inspiration. Blah, 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 warmly, so on and so forth. I didn't get the postscript yet, but she already knows because she already said, whichever way it goes is the right thing for her. You know how many people did not get in where they wanted to go? A door closed, and where they were redirected was the right place for them. Kadosh Baruch Hu sometimes closes doors, he opens others, but he brings us where we're meant to be, where we're wanted, where we're needed, where we find out who we're supposed to be and what life is supposed to be, about. Okay, one more quick one. Dear Rabbi Goldberg, listening to the Emunah Shir in 6 months, it's really made me reframe my viewpoint and see Hashem in my daily life. I want to share an experience that happened in my family. Several years ago, my relative who I was close with died suddenly in a fire. I received an inheritance. It had always been a dream of mine to build a beautiful sukkah that would be easy for my husband to put up. We used a significant part of the money to build a new deck with a pergola that attracts to easily install walls. Sukkahs is my favorite chag, and this family member always enjoyed spending the holidays with us, so it seemed fitting. 2 weeks ago on Motzei Shabbos, I was standing in the kitchen when a huge tree fell down in our yard. The tree landed on the pergola, which slowed it. Although it hit the house above the kitchen, the pergola took the brunt of the damage. The house received minor damage, but the roof did not cave in. No one inside was hurt. I can't describe the fear at seeing the tree fall, how thankful I was that no one was hurt, and there were no live wires or a myriad of other things that could have happened. Although I'm sad looking at the broken pergola, I realize the huge hug that came from Hashem and from this relative. I do not know why that tree had to fall, but clearly Hashem was looking out for us. I'm not sure that prior to listening to this shir, I would have connected all the dots. I probably would have just been upset about the situation. I see the plan of Hashem that he was looking out for us. One of my friends even pointed out, it is Pesach that is coming, not Sukkot, and we'll, God willing, have our Sukkah fixed and beautiful by then. Thank you for the inspiration. So, some emails. There are a lot more. I thank everyone who sent. Back to our text. We're learning Emunah Ubitachon. We are on page Lamed Beis. We said Remez L'Damra Avram Avinu. We last left off. And we're talking about, you want to talk Hashgacha? I didn't tell Rav Shor that we've been talking about Hamanti Kiadaber, the Ezra Hashem, Amir Hashem, thank you Hashem. But he sat down, and what did he start talking about? I said, could you give 10 minutes of Emunah for the Emunah Shir? But of course, he picked up where we left off, because Hashem is in charge. So I didn't have to tell him what we were talking about. Hashem controls and orchestrates and curates everything. Mind-boggling. It's extraordinary. It's amazing. How did everyone do with their homework? Doing well with the homework? Please God, thank God, God willing, God help. Mirz Hashem, Be'ezros Hashem, Chaste Hashem, Hemantik Yadaber. We take those baby steps by talking about Hashem. At first, you'll feel weird. What am I, some kind of evangelical, proselytizing? Who am I? I'm preaching now? And the answer is, yeah, be a preacher. In your home to your friends, not indoctrinating them, but simply nuance, subtly, talking about it. Don't indoctrinate. Don't hit them over the head with a hammer. Just live it. Several have spoken to me. Men about their wives, women about their husbands. We're not necessarily on the same page. I can't get them to listen to the Emunah shir. I can't get them into what I'm into. We're not living the same plane. We're not doing the same thing. We spoke about this last week too. The answer is don't hit them over the head. Don't indoctrinate. Don't preach. Don't force. Just be you. And when they see how healthy, how happy you are, who wouldn't want that too? When there's a situation, they panic, but you're calm. They're angry, and you're patient. They're frustrated, and you're good to go. And they understand, where's that coming from? Emunah, because I've been living with Emunah. And look how it's changed my life, our relationship, my parenting, my professional life. Who wouldn't want that too? So don't indoctrinate and don't preach. Just be and live. Hamantik Yadaber. Other people will believe because you speak. Subtly. That was Yosef. Shem Shamayim Shagar B'Fiv. Yosef always talked about Hashem. And by the time he's done with Paro, this pagan idolater all of a sudden is talking about God. Yosef didn't say, can we go over the Bible codes? Yosef didn't say, come to the Discovery Seminar. Yosef didn't say, Shegitz, how do you not believe? Yosef simply didn't stop talking about God, and the result and consequence were Paro himself starts talking about God. You'll find the people around you will talk about God when you talk about God. Hamantik Yadaber. We have to speak about Hashem. So it was Hashkacha, it was the hand of Hashem that Rav Shor picked up where we left off. Everything is Hashem. I wrote an article this week. I'll post it in the group. And the opening of it was Chaim, my friend Chaim. I called him when the campaign finished. I want to thank all those who contributed and gave. It means the world to me from the bottom of my heart. I'm only bringing up the campaign again, not to ask for more, though we're not done yet. We're not done. Unlike the Mishkan, we're not done. We'll never be done. We need more. But the campaign was a success, a smashing success, because so many of you gave or made pages or teams and helped us collect, and it meant the absolute world to me, to us. Thank you for building and inspiring Torah. It's incredible. So I called Chaim and I said, Chaim, you're going to get to Shemayim after 120, and Hashem is going to say to you, Chaim, good job. You gave almost $7 million to Boca Raton Synagogue community to grow Torah. And he's going to say, excuse me, what? Where? I made what commitment? Quickly, you're going to run to the charity.com/BRS page to check. Did it list you for $7 million? And it doesn't. But how does it mean? We had hit a wall and we were frustrated. We weren't sure how to proceed and where to go and how to get this done and what would be. And frankly, I was a little bit, I'm embarrassed to tell you, the Maggid Shir of the Emunah Shir, I was a little down in the dumps. And Chaim came from New York to meet with me about something totally different. And when we sat down before we started, he said, what's the deal with this campus thing? I see there's dirt outside, but there's no energy. Unlike everything BRS does, there's no energy, there's no excitement. I don't see anything about it. What's going on? So, we hit this wall. I don't know what's going to be. I don't know how to go. I don't know how to proceed. We have some challenges. He said, you've got to do a matching campaign. And in 60 seconds, he told me why and how, and I'm telling you it'll work and you got to do it. And I spent 60 seconds telling him why he's wrong and that won't work with us and our people don't do that and it'll never happen. But the rest of the day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Couldn't stop thinking about it. And the rest is history, because literally on a crazy short timeline, a few weeks later, we put together and we executed a campaign that Baruch Hashem is closing in on $7 million. So I said the hashkacha that he was visiting from New York that day, the hashkacha that he brought up the topic, the hashkacha that he gave an example he had just done, the hashkacha, all of it was, nothing is coincidence. He gave $7 million. Because had he not done that, I'd still be sitting here with my hands in the air, not knowing what to do. Hashem is orchestrating. So just pick up the signal and look for it. Thank him so much. Each time he does, it's all coming from him. It's all coming from him. Baruch Hashem, Be'ezras Hashem, Chaste Hashem, Mirz Hashem, it's all coming from him. And that was the letter Hey. The letter Hey was added to Avram's name because the letter Hey, you spell Hey, Hey Yud, or Hey Hey, or Hey Aleph, and we know it spells Im Yirtzeh Hashem. That's how Avram began to live, and that's what Avram instilled in us. Turn to page Lamed Gimel 33. That the advice and the path, the formula to a life of Hashem, be'emtzas ha'emunah v'hakara ha'brura, is a life of submit, surrender to God, let go and let God, see His guiding hand, understand He's in charge, He's in control, destroy the Amalek. That's also Purim. Amalek is not just Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the people like Colombia, the Jewish members of Congress who are more concerned with reinstating the visa of terrorists who want to kill Jews. That's not the only Amalek. Amalek is the voice inside our head of doubt, of uncertainty. That's Amalek. Amalek is Suffolk. Amalek is Gematria Suffolk. What's Suffolk? Oh, Rav Shor would be proud. What's Suffolk? Doubt. Amalek is the same numerical value as the word Suffolk, doubt. Why? Because you know what Amalek likes to do? Instill a little doubt. You have all this confidence, it's from Hashem, there's a reason, there's a purpose, this is my meaning, this is what I meant to do, this is where I meant to be. And then that little voice that creeps in and says, are you sure? Are you positive? He may not even exist. Who knows if he's even here? And who knows if he's even in charge? And who knows if he even cares about what's going on in your life? Are you sure? Are you sure you're ready to let go and let God? That little voice of doubt, that's Amalek. That's Amalek. What Rav Hutner calls, Amalek is what Rav Hutner calls, Koach HaChilul. Chilul is milashon chalal, a vacuum, a hole, an emptiness. Amalek pushes God out. There's no God here. There's just a big vacuum. Just random and chance and happenstance and coincidence. That's the voice of Amalek. Amalek is the voice of Nothing impresses me. Nothing's awesome. The word awesome that we've diluted and destroyed, that word awesome, but it really means something. It's an awesome word, awesome. It means worthy of awe. That's awesome. Worthy of awe. We should be in awe. But we live in a time there's no awe. Nothing impresses us. Instead of awe, we live in the generation of Awe is, wow, did you see that building? That painting, that sculpture, that literary work? Did you see that giant? You were just in the presence. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of a tzaddik, a tzaddikis. We once were a people that felt awe. Now we're so looking at our phone. We see something. I saw something more impressive on the internet. Someone sent me a video, something even better. Food. How was the concert? How was the shir, the rabbi? Everything's That's Amalek. Amalek is koach hachilul. Amalek is the koach of And what's a yid? A Jew is the koach hahilul. Hillel is milashon halel. Chilul is everything's Lashon hahilul. Hillel is everything's awe. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yocheved and I were at a concert Sunday. The Great Hatzalah concert was beautiful. We were walking out, and she stopped. She said, "Look at that sunset. That's awesome." I don't know how many people saw it. It happened to be everybody was facing the stage, and the sunset was behind them. I'm not blaming them, but they were looking at the concert, which was amazing. And behind them, Hashem was putting on His own show. There was an amazing show on stage, and behind everyone, Hashem was putting on His own show, which He does every day, which is called the sunset. And the sky was every kind of red and orange, and the hues. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And Amalek would say, "Keep walking. Nothing to see here. What's the big deal? It's a sunset. It rises every day. It sets every day. Keep walking. Nothing to see here." But the koach of a yid is not to listen to Amalek koach hachilul. It's the koach hahilul. Is to stop and pause and say, "Wow, that's awesome. Did you hear that new song? It's awesome." Not like a 60s hippie, awesome dude, but it's awesome. Like, it's awesome. It's worthy of awe. It's worthy of awe. Did you see that sunset? It's awesome. It's awesome. That recipe is awesome. That person's awesome. That idea, that story, that impact, that visit, they're awesome. That's how we destroy Amalek. We got to get rid of the Amalek. Amalek are the physical Amalek who threaten us with their violence, with annihilation, with elimination. That's Amalek, and we got to get rid of them. And our brave soldiers, our heroic soldiers we daven for, they're getting rid of the Amalek. But there's an Amalek in our hearts and in our heads. There's the Amalek, the voice of doubt, the voice of uncertainty, the voice of being unimpressed with anything. And it has to be replaced with the voice of awe, the voice of seeing Hashem everywhere, the voice of Hashem's in charge. Hashem's in control. I have no doubt. I have no uncertainty. I have calm and I have confidence. Last year when Rav Shor was here, he suffers. He should have a refuah shlema. Challenges in his spine. You see, it's hard for him to walk, sleep, move. And I asked him one morning, staying at our house, how is the Rav feeling? And he paused and he looked at me. He said, exactly how Hashem wants me to feel. What I loved about that answer is he didn't give some Shana Aleph, I'm not knocking the Shana Aleph, but he didn't give some Baruch Hashem, I'm in pain, like Hashem wants me. Baruch Hashem, I feel great. He didn't give some fake answer. He's in pain, but that's how Hashem wants me to feel. So I feel the way Hashem wants me to feel. I don't know anyone else would answer that. That Hashem wasn't part of that question. How do you feel? I had a good night. I had a bad night. It hurts. I'm feeling better. Where does Hashem fit into that question or that answer? But for a Rav Shor, he's part of every question. He's the answer to every question. How do I feel? The way Hashem wants me to feel. I'm working to feel better. I hope to feel better. I'm not denying that I'm in pain because that's foolish. Hashem doesn't want that from us. If we're in pain, if we're grieving, if we've suffered loss, if we're sad, He doesn't want us to deny real feelings, just to understand and embrace and accept that too is all part of coming from Hashem. That's all part of our story. It's where we're meant to be in this moment, even if we're trying to break out of it. It's all koach hahilul, says Rav Hutner. Not koach hachilul of an Amalek. Avram Avinu is the letter Hey, and for all of us, Hey Yud Aleph, Im Yirtzeh Hashem. Our life will change. Mishenichnas Adar. When we don't just enter the month of Adar, but when Adar enters us. Adar, the Aleph, Dar. When we give Hashem a dwelling in our life, by Hamantik Yadaber, we talk about Him always, then we'll see Marbin B'Simcha. We'll be B'Simcha. This is what's meant to be. This is how it's meant to happen. This decal, I can tell you several times, has had an impact on me. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm resentful. Who's keeping me waiting in the car? Who's still stuck at this red light? Why is this traffic happening, making me late? And you just embrace that moment and you realize, no. It's wasted energy. Who has time? You have enough energy to waste some? I don't. You have enough emotional bandwidth to waste some? I don't. So preserve it, save it, direct it where it's meant to be, and don't waste it on things we can't control. And the way to be able to do that is embrace your place, to recognize we are where we're meant to be, to let go and let God, to live with Emunah, to live with Hashem, to take those baby steps on that ramp, and to realize it won't change anything. It won't make it go faster. It won't necessarily resolve that problem that's out of my control and out of my hands. What do I need to do and how do I live? With HaKoach HaHilul. See Hashem everywhere. And that, hey, Hakara Aburaki L'chol Davar Nitzrach Siyata D'Shmaya. Everything needs divine providence. Everything needs Hashem's help. Will the challahs, will they be killer challahs or will they flop? Will the Hamantashim come out or will they explode and the jelly will go everywhere and they won't be the neat corners? I like it when they don't go right. Because when I sneak in the kitchen and try to take some, I won't say who, but I'm told, no, take the ones that don't look right. I'm not saying who. I have a koach hahilul. I say, these hamantashen, they're awesome. This is the nicest hamantashen I ever saw. And the person who made those hamantashen happens to be celebrating a birthday today. I don't want to say who they are and embarrass them. I'm not saying who, but I won't be where I am. And I said, as I said to them this morning privately, but I'll say publicly, because I was born before they were, that the day they were born was the best thing that ever happened in my life. Because even though I wouldn't find that other half to be whole for several years, but Hashem declared already in heaven that our halves were meant to be a whole. So Baruch Hashem, it's my birthday too. You should give me a present. No, I'm just joking. But a very happy birthday, in good health, and for many years to come, and continue to bake killer hamantashen with just a few not turning out exactly right, so I can sneak them in the kitchen. They're awesome. Koach HaHilul. They and you are awesome. So, but to live with an Avram, the letter Hey is Ha'im Yirtzeh Hashem. Shezacham l'siyuam min hashamayim. How to get on that? Because the challah, the hamantashen, the kugel, the carpool, the meeting at work, the client, the customer, the campaign that you're running, the drasha you have to give, everything needs siyata d'shmaya. Will the technology work to stream offshore? Will it work for offshore? Can you sit? Will the camera pick up? Will he be hurt? Everything needs siyata d'shmaya. Everything needs it. We spoke last week. You start your day. What's on tap today? Look in your schedule, Hashem, and siyata d'shmaya for this, the other thing. Oh, don't forget that, and also this other thing. At the end of the day, Hashem, thank you for siyata d'shmaya, for this, that, the other thing, and everything. It went right, it went wrong. I got in, I was rejected. It's all meant to be. It's all coming from Hashem. And to get to this Avram. How did Avram become the father of all nations? The father of monotheism, ethical monotheism, preaching and teaching and changing and transforming the world, because he saw and he taught Hashem everywhere. Everywhere. This has been my calling for the last several years. I grew up in a world and in a system which I learned and gained and made me who I am, but largely was absent this. With no criticism of those who came before. Maybe it was a different generation, they didn't need it. But my education did not talk about Hashem. We memorized Lamates Malachos, and we memorized and we gained skills and vocabulary in Gemara. And we memorized and we learned what the holidays were about, or the halacha, how to observe them. And we learned beautiful Divrei Torah on the Parsha. But a constant conversation, awareness, consciousness, invoking Hashem's name, it wasn't there. And we need it now more than ever. And the educators, which all parents and grandparents are the principal educators. We need it. We desperately need it. We need it for ourselves. We can't talk it. We can't speak it with any authority or any authenticity if we don't live it. Children can see right through. They know who's fake. They know who's faking it. So it has to be authentic, and we have to grow and learn it. And this is my calling, I feel like, the last few years. And I'll say that of all the shiurim I give, I would say the Living with Emunah, I won't tell you the numbers that apparently, and the community of Living with Emunah that we are around the world, that I'm so grateful, beyond grateful and humbled and proud. But the numbers tell me that this is what's needed and the most implemented as well more. So we need this. The world needs this. We desperately need this. And we used to not have it because I think we thought, that's for simple people. They talk about Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere. That's the simple people. Meet Hashem up the parking lot, get us this parking spot. Thank Hashem for Hashem, But if you're sophisticated and highfalutin and you have a fancy vocabulary and you know big terms, then you don't. That's not what you talk about. But it's wrong. It's wrong. The smarter, the fancier you are, the more sophisticated you are, the more we should be talking about Hashem. The more we need to talk about Hashem. The more. So I want to wish everyone a Freilich and Purim. First of all, thank you again for the help with the campaign. And thank you, Hashem, for the schus of Rav Shor. Thank you, Hashem, for sending Chaim to give the idea of the campaign. Thank you, Hashem, for forming this community. I want to wish everyone a Freilich a Purim. Purim, the miracle of Purim happened where? Shushan. Where was Shushan? Persia. Where is Persia? We need modern day miracles. Hashem should bring this Purim and even yet before. Miracles. Hostages should be home. Our soldiers should be safe. Next week, the Emunah Shir is from Yerushalayim on Monday at 10 a.m. We'll stream it. You will likely be sleeping. Maybe you'll wake up early, 4 o'clock in the morning. If you want to wake up early, feel free to join, or you can watch it later. And we'll pick up the week after. Have a Freilichen Purim.